The long wait is over. After a week of tension that held the entire land of the Golden Crown hostage, a massive spiritual confirmation has arrived. Yanifa has finally stood before the Golden King to deliver the news that has sent his enemies into a blind panic. The evil is broken. The chains around the Golden King and Queen Naomi have been snapped, and the celebration in the palace is reaching the heavens. A quick prayer for you. As you listen to this, I pray that any evil storm raging against your progress be silenced forever. May your restoration be as public as your struggle was, and may your joy overflow this week. In Jesus' name, amen. A note on our traditions. Because we respect the deep roots of the land of the Golden Crown, we use special fictional names for certain sacred rituals and titles. Stay with me and the mystery will become clear as day. The land of the Golden Crown is shaking, and this time it is not from fear but from the kind of joy that brings tears to the eyes. My Crown G's friends and families, listen to me closely because what I'm about to tell you will make your hair stand on end. The gods have finally broken the evil completely. The silence has been shattered, and the celebration in the palace right now is like something from a dream. Yanifa, the one whose voice carries the weight of the ancestors, has finally confirmed that the darkness surrounding the Golden King and Queen Naomi is dead and buried. Imagine this scene for a moment. The Golden King had been waiting for almost a week. Every day he woke up, he was looking for a sign. Every night he went to bed, he was holding his breath. The Golden Crown elders were all dead, gathered in a tight circle, their faces like masks of stone, waiting to see if their secret cloth would hold. But when Yanifa stepped forward, her voice wasn't shaking. It was calm, it was firm, and it was filled with a power that made the very pillars of the palace vibrate. She confirmed it. The evil has been broken. My people, they say, when the sun rises, even the thickest darkness that held the village captive at night must pack its bags and run. This is exactly what happened the moment Yanifa spoke. The storm that had been raging around the Golden King and his jewel, Queen Naomi, has finally run out of wind. The palace was holding its breath for so long under a shadow of fear and corruption, but now everyone is breathing again. It wasn't just a small announcement. It was a spiritual explosion. Yanifa didn't just speak to hear her own voice. She spoke as someone who had seen the gears of the spirit world turning. She saw the struggle. She saw how the enemies tried to lock the Golden King in a cage of confusion, but today, that cage has been melted down. The relief in the corridors of the palace is so heavy you can feel it in your bones. Those who have been patient, those who have been praying for Queen Naomi's full restoration are not dancing in their hearts. And if I told them clearly that the battle has shifted, the storm that unsettled even the bravest hearts is over. This is not just a temporary peace, my Crown G's friends and families. This is a complete undoing of the wicked powers that try to dominate the throne. As she spoke, the weight didn't just lift, it evaporated. But why were the elders so quiet? Why were their faces turning pale as they had never praised the integrity of those who stood firm? The mystery is just beginning, and the celebration is just the first layer of this golden cake.
Friends and families, you need to understand the atmosphere in that palace room as Yanifa continued her revelation. The suspense was so high, it felt like the air itself was vibrating. She didn't just stop at saying the evil was broken. She began to peel back the layers of how this war was fought in the secret places. She told the Golden King and the gathered Golden Crown elders that the victory they were seeing today was a result of a massive shift in the spiritual realm. The forces that had given life to the corruption, the ones that had been feeding the wahala inside the palace walls, have been completely shattered into pieces. Yanifa's voice grew even warmer as she began to talk about the importance of integrity. She looked around the room, her eyes probably lingering on some of those elders who had been playing double games, and she reminded everyone that in a world full of selfish ambition, it is rare to find a soul that remains untainted. She was talking about Queen Naomi. She called her a light that refused to be put out by the wind of wickedness. She told the Golden King that he must celebrate this woman fully because the gods themselves used her steadfastness to turn the tide of the war. But here is where the story gets really intense. Yanifa dropped a proverb that made everyone sit up straight. She said, even when the river is calm, the storms beneath still shift. My Crown G's friends and families, she was giving them a heavy warning. She told the Golden King that even though the major source of pain and the root of the storm had been destroyed, it doesn't mean life will suddenly be free of every single challenge. She explained that the great evil has been torn down, yes, but it's like when you cut down a massive rotten tree in the middle of a forest, there will always be debris left behind. She described the current state of the palace as a place that still needs a final clearing. She said there are still remnants of that destruction, small lingering bits of negativity that will cause a little disruption if they aren't swept away. She was very specific. There is still a tree inside the palace that needs to be removed. This isn't a physical tree, my people. She was talking about the last traces of the old corrupt system that had been strangling the Golden King's joy. But she assured him that this task could not take the same effort as before, because the source, the powerhouse of that evil, has already been leveled to the ground. The Golden King listened with a heart full of gratitude. He remembered all those months of confusion when he felt like he was walking through a thick fog. He remembered the advice Yennefer had been giving him all along. My Crown G's friends and families, do you remember when I told you that Yennefer kept telling him to focus and let the joy reunite with you? She was singing it like an anthem. She knew that the solution to the palace's problems wasn't just about more security or more laws. It was about the return of Queen Naomi herself. She had told the Golden King that the moment he reunited fully with his wife, something would give way in the spiritual realm. And look at it now. Even Reverend Esther had confirmed the same thing, saying that Queen Naomi holds the key to her own restoration and the restoration of the throne. The people in the palace are no longer surprised about why the enemies fought Queen Naomi with so much bitterness. They knew her aura was a threat. They knew that once her light returned to the Golden King's side, their darkness would have no place to hide. The restoration happened and the enemy's spiritual cage simply exploded. The joy in the palace was so loud it could be heard in the next village, but the Golden Crown elders remained frozen in their seats, realizing that the debris Yennefer was talking about might just be them.
The silence that followed Yennefer's words was more powerful than any shout. My Crown G's friends and families, as the Golden King sat there, absorbing the news that the head of the snake had been cut off, you could see his eyes moving across the room. He was looking at the Golden Crown elders, looking at the palace officials, and looking at the very walls that had felt so cold for so long. Yennefer's authority was like a fire that was burning away all the lies. She made it clear that this was not just a lucky break. It was a deliberate, precise, and powerful intervention from the heavens. The weight that lifted from the palace corridors was so massive that people said they could actually feel the change in the temperature of the room. It was as if a dark cloud that had been blocking the sun for years suddenly evaporated. Yennefer explained that the evil had tried to dominate the palace by creating a storm of confusion. They wanted the Golden King to be so distracted by the Wahala that he wouldn't see the corruption growing under his own roof. But the gods are not sleeping. She revealed that the battle had officially shifted. The enemies are no longer the ones attacking. They are now the ones running for cover. My Crown G's friends and families, let us talk about that tree Yennefer mentioned. She was very deep with her words. She said the great evil had been torn down, but like a cleared forest, there is still debris. This debris represents the lingering negativity, the small-time gossipers, and the remnants of the Olori Shadow's influence that are still hiding in the dark corners. The palace needed to remove these last traces of rot. Yennefer's voice was warm, but it had the sharpness of a newly sharpened cutlass. She was happy for the victory, but she was warning the Golden King to not leave even one leaf of that poisonous tree behind. The Golden King's heart was full. He remembered how many times people had tried to tell him that Queen Naomi was not the way. He remembered the whispers that she would never return. But Yennefer had been his spiritual anchor. She kept telling him, focus, do not react to their games. Just let the joy reunite with you. And now he sees the wisdom. Queen Naomi's aura was the missing ingredient. Her presence was like a spiritual shield that the enemies couldn't penetrate. This is why they fought her so hard. This is why they tried to smear her name and put distance between her and the Golden King. They knew that once she was back, their power supply would be cut off forever. The realization was hitting everyone in the palace like a physical blow. The Golden Crown elders were looking at their hands, unable to meet the Golden King's gaze. They realized that the debris Yennefer was talking about, the remnants of the old system, could be cleared away at any moment. The power has shifted completely. The celebration was not just about the king and queen, it was a celebration for the entire land of the Golden Crown. The people were tired of fear, they were tired of distrust, and now seeing the Golden King stand tall with his jewel, Queen Naomi, they knew that a new dawn had finally arrived. But as the joy overflowed, Yennefer dropped one more heavy thought. She said that while the major source of pain had been destroyed, the king must be the one to physically sweep out the remaining dust. The gods have done the heavy lifting, but the administration of the palace, the clearing of the lingering negativity, is now in the king's hands. The suspense now is who is going to be the first person to be swept out of the palace gates. The Golden King is no longer the confused man he was months ago. He's a man who has seen the light and he's ready to clean his house.
The sun is finally setting on the old regime in the land of the Golden Crown, and my crown-gist friends and families, the shadows it is casting are very young indeed. The atmosphere in the palace has moved from celebration to a deep, quiet reckoning. Yennefer has finished her work, the Golden King has received his strength, and Queen Naomi is back where she belongs. But as the music plays and the wine flows, there is a group of people who are not dancing. The Golden Crown elders who once thought they could control the heartbeat of the land are now realizing that their time is up. Yennefer's message about the debris and the remaining tree has hit them like a physical blow. You see, when a great evil is broken, it doesn't just disappear. It leaves behind people who were loyal to that darkness. The word in the palace corridors is that these elders are now facing a social banishment. They haven't been thrown into a dungeon, but their influence has dried up like a leaf in the harmattan. They can no longer speak where decisions are being made. They are just shadows in a palace they once tried to rule with fear. The victory of Queen Naomi is the ultimate proof that truth cannot be buried forever. For years, the enemies tried to keep her away, thinking that if they could just keep her aura out of the palace, they could keep the Golden King under their thumb. But they forgot one thing. You cannot block the path of a river forever. Eventually, it will find its way home. Queen Naomi's return is not just about her sitting on a throne, it is about the spiritual restoration of the entire kingdom. The wahala that used to disturb the palace every day has suddenly vanished, proving that she was indeed the solution they were looking for. As we look at the joy on the Golden King's face, we must also look at the lesson for all of us. No matter how long the night lasts, the morning must come. The tree of corruption is being uprooted, one branch at a time, and the land of the Golden Crown is finally entering a season of peace. The Golden King is now acting with the precision Yennefer spoke about, clearing out the remnant of the old mess so that his life with Queen Naomi can be pure and stable. Now, my crown gist friends and families, before you go and start sharing this as the absolute gospel, I must give you the important wise man caution. Please remember that all these details, the spiritual declarations of Yennefer, the broken evil, and the social banishment of the elders are all based on alleged reports and social media rumors currently making the rounds. These are unverified information and should not be seen as facts. We are bringing you the gist and the spicy updates exactly as they are being whispered in the dark corners of the internet. Until the palace drums beat the official news, keep these stories in the folder of rumors and alleged events. Will the Golden Crown elders find a way to apologize, or is their silence permanent? And what no glory will Queen Naomi bring to the throne now that the evil is broken? You know where to stay tuned to find out.